Philadelphia coming away from this one victorious, 34-29. Jordan Love didn't finish the game, but it doesn't look like his season is over. It seems like he's going to miss a couple of weeks, which we'll talk about that when we get to the preview show later this week. But what's the stat that told? Oh, wait, we got to get to the top five. Sorry. First one I messed up on.
Bookend.
Last one I messed up on.
There we go. Bookend.
But we caught it.
We recovered.
We caught it both times. Let's start with Green Bay, and then we'll get into the Philadelphia Eagles. Green Bay, their top graded player, offensive tackle Zach Tom. He had a 92.0 grade. Jaden Reed, their wide receiver, 89.2. Guard Elton Jenkins, 78.4. Safety Xavier McKinney, who was touted as one of the best free agency signings that we had. Off to a good start here, 76.2. And then rookie Jordan Morgan at the guard spot, 67.7. Then Jordan Love, before he got hurt, 64.6. Flip over to the other side, Philadelphia Eagles. Safety Reed Blankenship, big interception in this game. It's a big reason why he's at the very top of this list, 89.7. Offensive tackle Lane Johnson, no unfamiliar face to the top three here, 84.8. Wide receiver Devontae Smith and wide receiver A.J. Brown, they're next on the list, 84.6 and 83.4. And then offensive tackle Jordan Mailata at an 80.0. Jalen Hurts, one of the lowest graded games that you're going to see in his career, 29.8. Philly comes away with the victory, but there were some issues with Jalen Hurts. And I'll start there with my stat that told the story here. Hurts, when throwing, this is specifically over the middle of the field, which Hurts has been better at in the past. When you look at throws of 10 yards down the field, over the middle of the field, in between the numbers, Hurts was 1 for 4, 2 turnover-worthy plays, both of them interceptions, and just a 22.9 passing grade. I mean, he barely threw over the middle, and when he did, the Packers made him pay. He did not read it well. He did not have great accuracy. He did not look comfortable throwing in between the numbers, and that is an issue for Jalen Hurts. Last 2 years hasn't really been the case with him. Not that it's like he's going over the middle of the field all the time, but 92.4 and 94.0 passing grades in that exact area, 10 or more yards down the field between the numbers over the last 2 years. I mean, that's you threw 2 bad balls that could have very well been picked off, and they did get picked off. Anytime that's the case, you're not going to have a very high passing grade, but Hurts was not good against Green Bay, and I think for Hurts' performance, the Eagles were lucky to come out of that one with a victory.
Absolutely agree, and one big reason they did in my stat that tells the story, look, Jason Kelce retired, and it was a big question whether the interior would hold up here. They're moving Cam Jurgens to center and inserted Mekhi Becton, former Jet tackle, into their right guard spot, moved him inside, and their front five was spectacular. They didn't miss a beat. Their offensive line graded an 85.4 overall as a unit. They only had 1 game last year where they graded higher than that, and that's with Jason Kelce still in the fold. So, look, if they're going to not miss a beat on their offensive line, I mentioned the Lions as one team where, okay, the quarterback doesn't play well and our O-line can carry us. Well, Philly did the same thing here. Obviously, a couple receivers we'll get into that were great, but 81.2 run block grade as a unit, just 8 pressures, not a single hit or sack on Jalen Hurts, which is a little bit more concerning for Hurts because then you go, okay, he was clean all night and he still did some of that stuff. We'll get into that, but their offensive line, if this is the 5 that's going to work with Becton at guard and Jurgens at center and we're all good and you have the other 3 high-profile superstars and Johnson, Mailata, and Landon Dickerson, then you have a serious threat still with the Eagles' offense. And if obviously Hurts should play better than that. That might have been the lowest grade of his career. I'd have to go look at it, but just their offensive line so impressive with so many. I mean, not a ton of variables, but one massive variable in losing arguably the greatest center of all time.
What about most impressive, most disappointing?
Most impressive, I'll stay with the Eagles. Those 2 wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That just carrying the show, man. 12 catches.
Studs.
12 catches, 203 yards. You saw the grades. They didn't have another wide receiver on their roster make a reception. Nobody.
Wait, nobody?
Nope.
I didn't even pick that up.
Oh, no, not Jahan Dotson. Not. I think they threw at Johnny Wilson once.
Okay. Barkley and Goddard had some catches.
Wide. They were the only 2 wide receivers to catch a pass.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The other obviously Saquon. Yeah. But yeah. I mean. And if that's where they have to make the adjustment, if they're another like the Ravens, if they're just going to have a couple of guys, 2 guys out there and 12 person, if it's Goddard, if it's thrown at Barkley a lot and all, but they were just incredible. And the throws the throws that Hurts did make were pretty much all to these two guys. So it's one of the best pairs of receivers in the league. And my most disappointing, you mentioned Hurts. It was ugly. It was ugly. His first game with 4 turnover-worthy plays since their last game of the 2021 season when the Bucs beat him in the playoffs in the wild card round. That was the last time he had 4 turnover-worthy plays. And it's very uncharacteristic for him. All 4 of them were just egregious. All of them. The 2 over the middle, you had you had a seam deep in his own end that was absolutely blanketed. There was zero chance, even with a perfect throw, that ball was completed.
Yeah.
And the other one, I think the other one over the middle was the one he threw across his body in the end zone, driving in for points. Actually, right after he had a turnover worthy, the play before that, on the left sideline, he rolls to his right, throws 20 yards back across. So it's just in structure, out of structure. Hurts just didn't have it. You know something I'm a little worried about too, and I know last year we blamed the injury. 13 carries for 33 yards. Do we think Jalen Hurts has lost maybe a half step?
It kind of looked like against Green Bay.
Now,
runner, the field wasn't great
it was horrible.
in Brazil, so I wonder if kind of like that goes into it a little bit too.
But we saw this last year when he was hurt. Last year he had the knee injury.
Yeah, when he was hurt.
But I
hope it's not.
It looks... I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have to look into it. It just looks a little less explosive than it used to. And he's still a young player. He's still an athlete, and he still squats 700 pounds, so he's hard to tackle. But I go, if there is a diminished version of Hurts in the run game and in the scrambling, what does this offense need to do to overcome that?
Right. My most impressive, I'll flip to the other side. I'll go to the Packers. We talked enough about the Eagles here. Jaden Reed, your boy.
Breakout.
21.9% threat wide receiver usage, highest of the wide receivers, so they went to him early and often. 153.3 wide receiver rating. No other receiver had above a 100. So they went to this guy a lot, and he absolutely rewarded him. We talked all offseason. Who was going to be wide receiver 1? Who was emerging as wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers?
And if you were going to attack the Eagles, you attack them in the slot with a guy like Jaden Reed. Sure. Over the last 2 years, the worst slot coverage grade team in the NFL by a pretty wide margin. He had to be the guy for them.
He was awesome. He was awesome in this game. And then the most disappointing, I'm going to say Luke Musgrave, because Tucker Kraft outsnapped him 64-17. That is a large gap.
That's a starter and a backup.
That is one. You put it beautifully there. We went into this offseason wondering, like, who's going to be tight end 1? They're going to share some of the duties, blah, blah, blah. That's not sharing the duties. 64-17 is Tucker Kraft is the top tight end on this team, and Luke Musgrave is going to be, a tight end that they use sort of maybe as like a big slot receiver.
And they mix up the set some.
In fact, I don't think he played when there wasn't multiple tight ends on the field. I think all of Luke, either all or almost all of Luke Musgrave's snaps came when there were multiple tight ends on the field. So meaning like Kraft was also on the field with him. It wasn't like okay, we're subbing you in, we're subbing you out. You could play in the slot this time. You could be attached to the line of scrimmage. You could be the one tight end and 11 personnel, whatever. It had to be multiple tight ends on the field for him to even get on the field. So I'm very shocked about that. A little disappointed. I think Musgrave's got some good receiving ability, but very clearly Tucker Kraft has won that job there.